Hello and welcome to the World of Coin Collecting Volume 6 Third-Party Graders today. So this video will concentrate and focus on how third-party graders can become a useful part of a modern coin collection. If you are new to the channel, my name is White Cross and I'll be your guide here today. I hope that you'll consider subscribing and becoming part of this community. If you are one of my returning subscribers, thank you guys as always for being with me here again today. You know it means a lot to me. So you might be coming to this video from the previous video in the World of Coin Collecting series, that one entitled The History of Third-Party Grading. Whether you're coming from that video or coming to this fresh, what we're going to be talking about here today are third-party graders. Third-party graders are simply disinterested organizations that will take your collectible. We're focusing on coins here, but this is branched out into other areas where people collect items. They'll take your coin, and for a small fee, these independent and disinterested parties will offer a professional opinion as to its authenticity and also its grade. And then they'll sonically seal your coin in one of these holders or a style of holder very similar to these. And the benefits of that are some of the things that we're going to be talking about in this video. The last video we talked a little bit about the history, what kind of put the gears in motion for these things to become part of the regular coin collecting community. We're going to talk about some of the attributes of these and how they fit into a modern coin collection in this video. So we're going to talk about some of the positives of these holders that we call lovingly in the coin community, we call them slabs. We'll talk about some of the benefits. We'll talk about some of the negatives. There are some negatives to having pieces in slabs. We'll talk about some of the modern slabbers, the ones that are respected and that kind of made it through the crazy Wild West period of the 1990s to mid 2005, 2008 period like that. We'll talk about some of the slabbing companies that have gone away, some of the third-party graders that are no longer with us. And we'll talk about kind of a newer development in the world of third-party graders, and that's the proliferation of these little stickers that you see here. We may have already reached the apex of those stickering services. We'll talk a little bit about that in the video as well. So I mentioned we talk about some of the positive attributes of these slabs. If you are new to coin collecting, you may have bumped into a few of these. If you are a more seasoned coin collector, these are probably things that you're used to seeing, and they may even be part of your collection. I tend to be pretty much on the positive side of the scale for slabs, and there are many reasons for that. Let's talk about a few of them. The positives of these slabs. They offer, first off and foremost, and this is kind of one of the things that I feel is the most important attribute of slabs, is they offer physical protection. So when a coin is sealed in a slab, it is protected. This is the kind of thing that you may accidentally drop on the ground, and it's not going anywhere. There are very few slabbing companies whose slabs break easily. Some people will know some of the slab companies that do break easily. We'll talk a little bit about those towards the end of this video. But they offer physical protection. If you are clumsy, if you are in an environment where it's easy for you to drop something, the physical protection that a slab offers is, in my opinion, far more superior than just about any other holder that you can have your coin in. So that's the first real big reason that I am a big fan of slabs. I tend to be a little bit clumsy with my coins, but my more important valuable coins, I definitely want to have something that's a little bit more robust, something that's more difficult to break open, to crack open, to accidentally drop something out of. That physical protection should not be overlooked. I think that is a real positive benefit of slabs. Another positive benefit is the offer of authenticity. So if you are a coin collector, especially if you're the kind of person that likes to buy coins raw, and that's what we call coins that have not been put into a slab by a third-party grader, those pieces that can be purchased raw sometimes are not genuine coins. So one of the reasons that people have coins slabbed in the first place, or pursue slabbed coins, pieces that are already slabbed, at their local coin shop, a coin show, or wherever it is that they're buying coins online, is because you have a much greater degree of comfort that the item that you're buying is genuine. Now, there are some exceptions to those rules that becomes a little bit of a gray area when you're dealing with things like ancient coins. There are very few slabbing services that really slab grade ancient coins, and those that do, people like NGC, tend to dial back their guarantees as to authenticity when it comes to ancient coins. Part of the reasons is that those coins are just so crude and easy to counterfeit, it becomes a lot more difficult to have a standard system of images of authentic pieces when there is so much variety and the pieces vary so much, especially in things like ancient coins. But for the most part, if you're dealing with a reputable, knowledgeable third-party grader and you get a coin that is slabbed, you know that that coin is authentic. And that also means that if you're the kind of person that does buy these coins raw and submit them to third-party graders, something that we'll talk about a little bit later in this video, your piece comes back authenticated and graded. It means that third-party grader feels that your piece is authentic, and that can be an incredibly important attribute. I have on occasion submitted coins to third-party graders only to find out that those coins are not authentic. It knocks the wind out of your sails, but I like to see it as a learning opportunity. This is a really good chance for you to see what experts saw that you didn't see. That authenticity is an important concept, and it's one of the benefits of having pieces in slabbed, whether you submit them to a third-party grader or you're buying them already graded by a third-party grader. Authenticity. Liquidity is another positive attribute of having pieces in slabs. In a modern coin collection, if you have a coin and you're going to try to sell it in person, let's say a coin that has not been put into a holder, taking it to a coin shop, taking it to a coin show, or offering it for sale online can be a tricky proposition. You have opinions about what the grade is, you have opinions about its authenticity. If a coin has been graded by a third-party grader and sealed into one of these holders, it is much easier for you to be able to negotiate a price, either buying or selling, when you know for a fact what this piece is. If you were to take a piece that hadn't been graded by a third-party grader to any of these venues, a coin dealer, a coin show, an online sale, you have to, in essence, convince the buyer that your piece is what you think it is. And that leaves it open for interpretation, which obviously leads to negotiations in terms of value, and you may find yourself on the short end of the stick when it comes to selling. So I think liquidity is improved. The chances of being able to sell it, to be able to sell it quickly, and to be able to sell it at a premium price are all increased when you have pieces in third-party graders, slabs, or, let me back up and just clarify that, reputable third-party grader slabs. There is a difference between the slabbing companies. Again, something we'll talk about a little bit later on here. So their liquidity is increased. Another aspect is added value. So I touched on that a little bit in the liquidity. It means that you're probably going to have a better chance of getting a premium price when you go to sell your piece. But the slab itself also adds value. So it's not just so much a matter of being able to prove that the piece is what it is. Slabbing costs money. The process of having a coin submitted to a third-party grader and having it graded has lots of different pieces to it. There's lots of moving parts to that. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. But those costs are usually recognized by the buyer. Not all the time, and in fact, some buyers will try to discount it and say it's no big deal to have a piece slabbed. But there is value in having coins slabbed, and these values are also usually gotten back when you go through the process of selling. You have a better chance of recouping those costs when you've got a quality coin and a quality slab holder. But also the slabs can have value. They can become collectible pieces. We talked a little bit in the last video in this series, that history of third-party grading, that I would have another video that is kind of independent of the World of Coin Collecting series, where we talk about the collectability of some of these slabs. Some of these slabs do have some very serious value attached to them, and I think this is potentially a growing market within the field of numismatics, We'll talk about that in that other video. Keep your eyes open for it. If you finish watching this video and this subject matter interests you, take a look at that video as well. It'll be an interesting journey, I guarantee you. So there is the potential, not a guarantee, but the potential of added value with having coins in these slabs. Another factor, consistency. And this is one of my favorite things. I tend to be a little bit of a pack rat, a little bit of a hoarder when it comes to coin collecting. If you're like me, you probably have cookie jars or cigar boxes or pretty much any kind of holder you can think of that has a big mash of raw coins jangling around and coins sealed in paper 2x2s or sealed in plastic flips. When you have your better pieces, and you don't want every coin in a slab, but when you have your better pieces in one of these rigid plastic holders, your ability to have them in a much more neat and organized system becomes apparent. You have the option of keeping those slabs in one of these kind of traditional plastic holders. This is a PCGS holder, and it holds a myriad collection of slabs here, different sizes and different shapes. It makes having your collection in an easy to kind of store, organized, and kind of nicely put together collection. That's a benefit of having slabs, that kind of consistency when it comes to storage. But if you've got a really nice collection of coins, you also have the opportunity to take advantage of some of the really good, high quality, conservation level materials that you can store your collection in. I've got an example of an Intercept Shield box. This is a box that contains 20 different slabs, and each one of the slabs fits within one of these holders, and you can see it's got clear plastic windows. But each of these little containers and each of the larger Intercept Shield boxes have compounds within them that are designed to keep the coins from tarnishing, to keep them from changing over time. That can be incredibly important if you've got really beautiful surfaces on a coin that you want the coin to maintain, whether the coin is already toned or if it is a brilliant bright white finish that you really like. Being able to take advantage of coins that are in slabs, keeping them within these Intercept Shield sleeves, and keeping these Intercept Shield sleeves within the Intercept Shield box. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a video of the world of coin collecting storage options for your coin collection. This is, in my opinion, one of the very finest archival quality ways to store a very important coin collection. It's difficult to do, not impossible, but it's difficult to do if you have your coins in all sorts of different holders, in those stapled 2x2s and the plastic PVC or non-PVC flips, if you've got them raw, if you've got them in self-slabbed options that are maybe not consistent with the rest of these pieces, and if you have some pieces in these kinds of slabs. That inconsistency makes storage a little bit more difficult. Remember, we're talking about the benefits of third-party graders to a modern coin collection. So I think that consistency in storage is also really important. And on the same lines, it also lends itself to a little bit more of a neatness in your broader coin collection, whether you're using the fancy Intercept Shield boxes, the standard PCGS or NGC plastic boxes. You'll soon kind of find out that having your pieces in an easy to understand, no-brainer, but quality storage option really does make your collection seem a little bit more professional, maybe a little bit nicer. It just adds a little something to it. And if you've got a nice collection that's taken you some time to get together and it's cost you a lot of money to put together, you deserve to have your pieces in something that is really going to protect them and offer these storage capabilities. So consistency, I think, is an important one. How about accountability? And I'm talking about things like when it comes to researching and prices. We already talked before about when you go to buy and sell pieces, if your coin is raw, you have a much greater difficulty in trying to convince your buyer that your piece is as nice as you think it is. But when a coin has been put into one of these holders by a reputable third-party grader with the grade on it, with the designation on it, it becomes a lot more difficult for somebody to try to talk you down in price. You can look easily online or through published sources like the Red Book to see what your pieces are selling for. And you have a very strong apples to apples comparison. It's not just, I think this is the 64, I think this is a proof-like designation. When you've got something that is sealed in a slab by a reputable third-party grader, this is a PCGS MS61. Whether the buyer has an opinion about it, whether you have an opinion about it, it's a rock-solid grade from a quality third-party grader. So that accountability when it comes to buying and selling, but also researching prices. And that can be important if you insure your coin collection. And it can be important if an unfortunate circumstances happens and something happens to your coin collection. If you've got a record of these pieces and you can say unequivocally that the piece is a PCGS MS61, then there is no doubt for your insurance adjuster. It is much more easy for police to track if those pieces go missing, if they get burned up in a fire, if they get destroyed in a flood, whatever happens. Having these very specific types of holders that contain not only the name of the company that is reputable, the grade that's listed, and even the certification number. So you can actually store those in a spreadsheet or database or just on a Word file, or if you want to, just write it down on a piece of paper. But that accountability aids in things like insurance and insurance adjusting. If you have to try to convince an insurance adjuster or an accountant or whoever it is that you're trying to prove this information to, that you had a raw MS64 1962 Franklin half dollar, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But if you can provide the certification number, which you see right here on this slab, there is no question you were the one who owned this piece, and it was in fact what you are saying it was. So that accountability, I think, kind of goes hand in hand with record keeping. You've got those certification numbers. You have the ability to research prices on a daily basis so you can see just how much your coins are worth, what the last one of them is sold for. Again, that kind of apples to apples comparison. There's no doubt, there's no question, there's no wiggle room. It is what you say it is, and that's the end of the story. So physical protection, authenticity, liquidity, there is potential for added value, there is consistency, accountability, record keeping. The last thing I wanted to kind of touch on is the possibility if you are submitting pieces to a third-party grader for conservation. Many times in my numismatic history have I bought a coin that is suffering from environmental damage. Unfortunately, one of the storage options that was popular in the 1980s was storing coins in PVC flips, 2x2 plastic flips. These are polyvinyl chloride flips, and they look beautiful. They're really beautiful, shiny, kind of malleable plastic holders, just little 2x2 holders. But the problem is that those flips were made with a compound that eventually, and under the right circumstances with the right amount of humidity in the air, can turn into a form of acid that eats away the surface of the coin. And probably hundreds of millions of dollars of valuable coins from the 1980s were destroyed by people thinking that they were protecting coins with the best quality protection available, and that's those PVC holders. We still see PVC damage to this day. Some of the more reputable third-party graders, in particular, that would be NGC and PCGS, offer conservation services, NGC through their branch called NNC, and PCGS through their branch called PCGS Restoration. So if you have a coin that is dark, darkly toned, mottled toning that isn't attractive, if you think that there is kind of a crustiness to us or the potential that a coin has suffered from PVC damage, these conservation services will take a look at your coin when you submit it for installing in their slabs and see if they think that they can improve it. This is a little bit of a controversial topic. My position is generally you don't clean coins. You never clean coins. We don't clean coins. Don't clean your coins. But these experts in the field have developed proprietary compounds that they can use to at least try to address some of the organic compounds that may have made their way onto the surface of a coin. And these compounds are usually very safe for working with coins in the right laboratory conditions with experts who know what they're doing, kind of museum quality restoration. But the benefit is, whether you agree with their process or not, their process is part of their slabbing service. So if you submit a coin that had some kind of damage to it that they felt that they could reverse, the compounds that they use on the coin don't count against the coin when they go to slab the coin. So as long as they're using their process, it doesn't count against the coin. If you've ever tried to clean a coin and submit it to one of these third-party graders, they have very sophisticated technology that can detect if the wrong kinds of chemicals, the wrong kind of cleaning method has been used, and often they will reject the coin. But as long as they are the one doing it, their proprietary compounds are acceptable within their standards. So your coin can actually benefit from doing that, eventually having the coin certified in one of their holders and coming back with a grade that is authentic and that is also guaranteed. It's a benefit. It's a little bit of a gray area, but if you've ever had to take advantage of their services, it can vastly improve the quality of the coin, ultimately the grade of the coin, and that can ultimately positively impact the value of the coin. Something to think about, a benefit to third-party graders. Conservation. So we touched on some of the great things about third-party graders and why I think that they are a positive attribute for modern coin collecting, for coin collectors of today. But there are some negatives to third-party grading. Let's go over a few of them. They include cost, wait times, and gambles. And it's a little bit of a tricky thing to try to explain, but bear with me. These things cost money. This is not cheap. And if you are on a budget, or if you don't mind collecting pieces that are maybe a little bit more common or a little bit lower grade, you don't really need third-party graders. This is really kind of reserved for coins that have a value that makes it worth going through the process of having them put into these slabs. And that is not something that comes cheap. If you are going to submit to a third-party grader, you have to usually be a member of the organization that will be doing the grading and encapsulation. PCGS and GC, for example. Being a member of the PCGS that will allow you to submit coins for their certification service costs between $69 and $249 per year. That's not cheap. So just being a member that has those submission privileges has a cost to itself, whether you submit anything or not. NGC is comparable. Their lower end membership is about $20 a year, but that goes all the way up to $279 a year. And CAC, which is an organization that we haven't really talked much about, but we'll talk a little bit about later in this video series, they are, I think right now, about $20 annually. Their memberships are not easy to get. I'm fortunate that I've got one right now. And I imagine that they're probably going to open up a little bit in the future as their grading service gets more popular. But just having those submission privileges to one of these organizations has a cost to it. If you are kind of one of those lower end coin collectors, if you are on a budget, you just don't have that money, that's a pretty big cost. You can buy a pretty nice coin for $250. So it's definitely something to consider. These don't come without a cost. Once you are a member, it costs you money to submit these. So each one of these coins let's just take the top tier, PCGS. This is an example of a little bit more modern PCGS slab. NGC, right now they cost between $20 and $40 to have your coin encapsulated. Most of these third-party graders have different tiers that take either a very fast amount of time to submit your coin and have it returned to you, or a very slow amount of time, and that's definitely one of the negatives of slabbing. So you're going to pay $20 to $40 probably on average for most average higher-end coins that you want to have encapsulated. That adds to the cost of the coin. So whether you are submitting yourself or if you're buying a piece that has already been certified, there is a very good chance that that cost is going to be built in. So you're looking at $20 to $40 in addition to being a member of these organizations in the first place. So you see that these prices start to stack up. There is a cost to having these pieces in your collection. But on top of that, you also have shipping and insurance. So once you're a member and you can ship coins to these organizations to have them encapsulated for you, shipping is not inexpensive. An order of maybe 15 or 20 coins, assuming that you're going to try to submit these coins. Sometimes collectors and dealers call that making a coin. Frankly, that term is a little bit cringe to me, but if you're submitting coins to a third-party grader, you've got to pay for shipping, and you probably need to ship them via a form of shipping that's going to get them there safe and sound. You don't want your valuable coins lost or damaged on the way. You're probably going to use priority mail or FedEx, one of those types of services. And you also probably need to add insurance to your order. And when one of these certification services finishes certifying and encapsulating your coins, they too are going to have to ship them back to you with insurance. And that definitely adds up. Shipping and insurance there, shipping and insurance back, paying for the encapsulation itself, and paying to be a member that has submission services. You can see that these don't come cheap. There is a cost to doing this, and it's something you need to consider whether or not it's worth it for you. I mentioned weight, and I'm in the middle of one of those waiting games right now that's driving me a little bit crazy. I submitted my last group of coins to NGC on, I want to say, August 30th. And as of November 15th, I still haven't gotten those grades. Typically, these grading companies post them online for you to see before they box them up and ship them to you. So I'm somewhere close to approaching 3 months since I sent off my coins and since they have gotten back to me with the grades, and they still haven't gotten back to me. So if you're an older, seasoned veteran, you know that this is just the way it works, and you can just bide your time and not worry too much about it. And when those grades pop up in your email, it kind of makes your day, hopefully. And we'll talk about that in a second too. But if you don't do this very often, it can drive you crazy if these wait times, and they're based on their need and how many people are submitting coins, how few graders they have available. Those times kind of ebb and flow a little bit right now, but approaching 3 months to have these certifications done on a few pieces really does kind of bum you out. So that is kind of a cost, your time cost. This is not the kind of thing that you can easily flip unless you are buying very valuable coins and you know you've already got a potential buyer for them and you can afford those really expensive expedited slabbing services. Weight is definitely one of the drawbacks to this. And also, finally, there is a bit of a gamble. So this kind of comes hand in hand, regardless as to whether or not you have a coin that's raw or whether it's certified. I mentioned a little bit earlier that sometimes, you wind up getting a coin that's counterfeit. And if you find that out from a third-party grader, a coin that you thought was genuine comes back not genuine, that's a bit of a gamble. But what if you are submitting a coin to a third-party grader that has been tooled or repaired and you didn't catch it? What if the coin has been harshly cleaned and you didn't think it had been? There is always the potential that you're going to pay for the coin, you're going to pay for the shipping, you're going to pay for the insurance, and some of these third-party graders even charge you a fee whether they wind up grading your coin or not. But if they reject that coin for whatever reason, you have still tied up your funds and potentially paid to have a coin encapsulated that's never going to get encapsulated. So there's a bit of a gamble for it. If it comes back details graded and you thought that it was an accurate coin, you have the ethical dilemma as to whether or not you're going to crack it out of that holder and try to sell it as a raw piece the way that you bought it. Maybe you genuinely disagree with a third-party grader. Or if you're trying to sell it in a details graded slab, often those slabs sell at a pretty significant discount. So you have gone through this entire process only to find out that your coin that you're going to sell that has now been graded and encapsulated by the third-party grader that you paid to have encapsulated is going to sell at a discount. It's a little bit of an ethical dilemma. It's another difficulty and a reason to be kind of cautious about going through the process of slabbing. So there's benefits to slabbing. There are costs associated with it, whether you're doing it yourself or you're buying these pieces already encapsulated and graded by a third-party grader. Costs and positives and negatives, costs and minuses. I touched a little bit before at the beginning of this video that I wanted to talk about modern slabs and modern slabbers. So in the last video, that volume 5, the history of third-party graders, we mentioned there was kind of a Wild West period that was starting to happen with a lot of these coin graders. Anybody can buy a slab, anybody can slap any kind of grade onto a coin that they want to. And if you are an inexperienced buyer, that may sway you to buying a piece that is not what it's supposed to be based on modern A&A standards in that Sheldon scale of 1 to 70. So there are some that actually kind of survived this Wild West period, and they include PCGS, again, here's a little bit more of a modern PCGS slab, NGC, Annex, and I don't have a modern Annex slab for reasons I'll talk about a little bit later. There's a company called ICCS, which is a Canadian-based company that deals in kind of world coins. I'm in the United States of America, so we think of everything that's outside of the United States of America as foreign, but if you're in Canada, of course, it's not foreign to you. ICCS is a Canadian firm that deals mostly in Canadian pieces. So that's one of the slabbing companies that has survived. ICG has actually survived. This is still a viable company that is still around. There's another organization called CACG. I think I've got a CACG sample somewhere here. I may have put it away. CACG is a coin grading company that I actually kind of like. I like their coins. I like their holders. I like the fact that you've got the detail there on top of it. When you're putting these coins into these plastic coin slab holders, it's kind of a benefit if you can just look down at the top of them and see that this is this coin. You don't have to go sliding the coin completely out to find out what it is. I like CEGS. And that's not sex, that's CEGS, S-E-G-S. Thank you. I know there's some people out there chuckling. CEGS is one of the third-party graders that did survive. But when it comes to these third-party graders, I've mentioned over and over again that not all of them are created equal. And this is a very, very, very important thing to remember. When you go to buy, when you go to sell, there are certain third-party graders that are respectable and their grades are considered to be genuine, authentic, and market acceptable, and there are some that are not. The best, in my opinion, are NGC and PCGS. And those are really the only ones that I have in my own collection. In fact, for my serious, hardcore main collection, if I had a coin that was in anybody else's slab, anybody else's holder, I would have already cracked it out and submitted it to either NGC or PCGS. That's how much of a purist I am. I know I'll get a lot of grief for that. There are other people out there who say that some of these other third-party graders are just as legitimate, but when it comes to my collection, I don't feel that's true. White Cross's opinion, just NGC, just PCGS. And there are others who kind of back that up, because when it comes to these pieces, one of the most important online venues for either buying or selling slabbed items is eBay. And eBay only allows certain third-party graders to be sold on their venue. So that would be PCGS, NGC, Annex, ICCS, that's that Canadian firm we just talked about it, and ICG. And that's it. Now, you can sell a coin from another third-party grader on eBay, but you have to cover up the grade. And you can't talk about the grade either in the listing. You can't say that this is an MS65 true grade coin. eBay will pull your auction if you try to list it like that. So you can't show the coin in a slab with the grade visible, and you can't talk about the grade on an eBay sale if you're not one of those third-party graders that I mentioned. Again, that's PCGS, NGC, Annex, ICCS, and ICG. The only ones that are allowed to show their grade and the entire attributions, and that you can talk about in the body of the eBay auction. That should tell you something. It should tell you something that these are the only ones that are allowed on eBay. You may be the biggest fan in the world of PCS slabbing. You may think that their pieces are amazing, that their grading skills are out of this world, but you could not sell this slab on eBay without covering up the information. And that should tell you something. That should be your clue that you probably should stick to just those ones that are offered by eBay. And again, White Cross's choice, NGC and PCGS, the only ones that I have in my real hardcore collection. Of course, I've got examples of other pieces, but it's really primarily for things like this, so I can talk about them with other collectors, so we can share information and share examples. And believe it or not, a couple of these pieces I picked up just for this video series. So PCGS, NGC, Annex, ICCS, and ICG, the only ones that are allowed on eBay. NGC, PCGS, the only ones that I have in my collection. With one exception. Of course, every rule has an exception, and the exception is this brand new grading service that's not really brand new, and this is CACG. So CACG is the stickering service that has been around since 2007, I believe, started by John Albanese, and they have recently started, instead of just stickering coins, and we're getting ready to talk about stickering also, this is a great entree into it, they have actually started their own certification called CACG grading. So this is also allowed on eBay, and while I only have this one sample that they sent to me recently, I will have no problem adding CACG coins to my collection if it comes to a point where I find the kind of coin that I really need to add to my coin collection, and it's in a CACG holder. I will probably keep it in the CACG holder because I've already got lots of CAC pieces, as you've seen here in front of you. Stickers. Let's talk a little bit about stickers. This is kind of a weird, interesting new phenomenon that's happened in the last 10 or 15 years in the world of coin collecting. So stickering, it sounds a little bit silly. It sounds like something that a kid would do, but it's a lot more serious and a lot more advanced than that. There are coin dealers who have known for quite a while that some coins are better than others, especially when it comes to graded coins. You can say all you want about the Sheldon scale of 1 to 70 and that a 63 is a 63 is a 63 on that scale. But the truth is that there are attributes to each individual coin that, while technically a 63, some examples are always going to be a little bit better than others. Some examples are going to be kind of middle of the road compared to everybody else in that field. And some examples of that MS63 coin are going to be dogs. They're going to have unattractive toning. They're going to have a few ill-placed contact marks. There's just going to be something about them that makes them less attractive. So there are organizations that will examine a coin that is already sealed within a holder, and if it passes their stringent expectations for what a very quality coin within that grade is, they will add one of their stickers to that coin. And this is a new phenomenon, and it's been rejected by a lot of coin collectors. I embraced it almost immediately because it really adds something to the value of classic, older slabs. Again, we're going to talk about the collectability of these slabs in another video. Hope you'll keep your eyes open for that. So this really kind of started, and again, it's a little bit of a great area. In my opinion, it started in the 1990s with a dealer named Rick Snow. Rick is a very, very knowledgeable dealer who specializes in flying eagle cents and Indian cents. That's really his area of focus. And he realized early on that some pieces that he was buying and selling were amazing in their holders. These holders being NGC and PCGS. Are you starting to kind of note something here? He looked at these pieces, decided that ones that were being offered to him or the ones that he was offering to his customer sometimes reached a level that he felt was exceptional. And he started applying a small sticker to the upper part of the slab here. And it was those eagle eye stickers that he was applying to these pieces that immediately increased their desirability and their value. He was adding value to these pieces by assuring his buyers, his customers, that these pieces had passed his stringent controls for what constituted a very good quality coin within that grade. He only did it for pieces that were graded by PCGS and NGC. Again, that should tell you something. So he started that in the mid to late 1990s, and it took off like a rocket, and he still does it to this day. In fact, he said that the pieces that he sells tend to only be the pieces that have his stickers because his customers don't want to buy a piece from him that hasn't passed his stringent recommendations. So most of the pieces that he sells are only these eagle eye stickered coins. And he also offers to buy them back at a very strong price. That's how much he's putting his money where his mouth is. That's what the stickering kind of began. And other people have kind of jumped into it. Now, it's not as simple as putting a sticker on these pieces. One of the attributes of these coins that are in slabs, we talked about before in their accountability, was that they all have these registration numbers on them. So we know exactly what this coin is. And if a company is going to be adding stickers to the coin, they too have a database that show which pieces have been accepted. And though they probably don't publish it, they probably have an Excel file that shows which pieces have been rejected for having their stickers placed on them. So you can see that this adds something to the value of the coin. It shows that an expert has seen it, agrees with the grade, and in some cases means that they'll actually buy it back at a premium price. Stickering. It's a lot more complicated than it sounds. I understand why some people have kind of a negative opinion about it. It's already in an NGC slab. It's already graded 63. Why do I need somebody else's opinion? It really does add value in certain circumstances. So Rick Snow, 1996, Wings in about 2008 started doing the same kind of thing for exceptional foreign coins. Again, I know it sounds silly if you're based in the United States of America. Outside of the United States of America, we consider your pieces foreign. So this is a Mexican piece. This is a 1917 Mexican 20 peso. And this has received, and it's an NGC holder. Again, NGC holder. This has received a Wings sticker. So they are world coins, metals, tokens, and ancient coins even. But in order for Wings to consider looking at your coin and offering an opinion as to whether or not they think it's exceptional for the grade, it must be an NGC, a PCGS, an Annex, an ICCS, or an ICG. So they are a little bit more broad than Rick Snow is, but it is limited to those top tier companies. Wings won't look at a coin that's in another company's slab, just those companies. Again, this should tell you something about the quality of these slabs. Wings, the gold is a premium quality. They also have a silver sticker, which means that it's very solid for the grade. And we have another organization that does kind of the same thing, and we're getting ready to talk about them. I mentioned earlier that's CAC, that's the Coin Acceptance Corporation, started by John Albanese. John Albanese started NGC way back in the mid-1980s, but in 2007 he started doing the same thing that Wings and Rick Snow was doing with Eagle Eye, and that is to take a coin that has been graded by another third-party grader. Now, who do you think it is that he allows? PCGS and NGC. Only American coins, only kind of classic American coins. He doesn't look at modern bullion. He doesn't look at foreign coins. But if you have a coin that has been graded by PCGS or NGC, you can, if you're a member of CAC, that Coin Acceptance Corporation, you can submit a coin to them and they will take a look at it and decide if it meets John Albanese's very strict standards for a quality piece within that grade. Now, he has a two-tiered system also. A green coin is better quality for the grade. So that's kind of the A and maybe B quality for within that grade. But he also has a gold quality. And gold quality means that the coin actually exceeds the grade that's on the slab. So while this says MX64, John Albanese and his graders believe that this coin is truly, honestly, at least an MS65 and would still get a green sticker if it were at an MS65. So it would still be exceptional for the grade, at least one grade higher. These gold stickers by CAC, incredibly valuable in certain series. They are very sought after. And they too have a lot to do with classic vintage collectible third-party grader slabs. Again, we'll talk about that in the next video, or in this ancillary video that we talk about the collectability of slabs. There are a couple of other organizations that also sticker coins. There's one called QA Check. I've never really encountered them before. I've seen them for several years. They kind of pick up where CAC leaves off. So they do modern pieces. They do modern bullion pieces. And if they feel that that piece is exceptional for the grade, it's my understanding that they only look at pieces from PCGS and NGC, they will apply a sticker to it that says that this coin is exceptional as a modern American coin. So you can see how these kind of work together Rick Snow's original is early American copper, and then you've got Wings that does foreign, you've got CAC that does classic pieces, and then you've got QA that does modern American pieces. Unfortunately, recent developments have indicated that CAC is going to stop stickering coins. When they launched their own certification service, it was probably inevitable that they were going to stop looking at other certification services and stickering those pieces. I think it's a little bit up in the air as I'm filming this. They're still kind of doing it, but it sounds like they're backing away from it in favor of actually having their own grading service. I understand it, but man, I think it's going to be a loss to the community, especially when it comes to these beautiful older collectible slabs, to be able to have them remain in their original early slab and just have John Albanese's signature on it saying that he believes this coin is a very good quality piece for what it's supposed to be. Last thing I wanted to talk about really briefly is the idea of the Crackout game. So these older slabs, especially the ones that are made by reputable coin companies, again, NGC and PCGS and others that have maybe gone by the wayside now, their grading originally was quite conservative. Now, only the top tier grading companies, again, some of these fly-by-nights would inflate their grades ridiculously, but that's not what we're talking about here. The early high-quality grading companies tended to have very conservative grades on them, and it didn't take long for astute dealers and collectors to realize that they can still go out in the marketplace, maybe find these really old slabs that have a conservative grade on them, buy them at that conservative grade. Remember, you're negotiating the price. The 61 is a 61 is a 61, right? But they can pop these out, essentially destroy the slab. It's called cracking out, and then resubmit that coin either to PCGS or NGC or one of the other grading services if they really want to, and have that coin come back at a higher grade. Why would they do that? If you're negotiating a price for a 61 and you crack that coin out and submit it and it comes back a 63 or a 64, you have made serious money on some of these pieces. And unfortunately, that means that the supply of these classic holders are disappearing every single day as more and more pieces get broken out and resubmitted to these third-party graders so that they can potentially receive a higher grade. It makes me a little bit sad. I have to admit that I've done it myself. I'll show you a picture here. One of the ones that I did, this is in 2015, I bought an ICG branded $20 Saint. And I talked about that consistency. I don't really want my good collectible pieces in an ICG holder. I don't really have anything against ICG, but I like my pieces to be consistent. NGC, PCGS. So I cracked that coin out. I submitted it as a MS61, and it came back from NGC as an MS62. That's not a huge leap, but I'm glad to have it in an NGC holder instead, and I'm glad that I've actually gotten it out of the ICG, and it did improve one grade point. To some people that matters a lot. To me, I just like that consistency. So we talked about the idea of having third-party graded pieces in a modern coin collection. We talked about some of the positives of the slabs, that physical protection, the authenticity, the liquidity, the added value, the consistency, the accountability for record keeping, and even the conservation services if you choose to use them. But there are also negatives to slabs. The main one is cost. You've got to be a member of these organizations. You've got to pay to have them slabbed. You've got to pay to have them shipped there and back. You have to pay for the insurance on shipping there and back. And then you've got these crazy wait times sometimes, and that can really be a drag. And it's a bit of a gamble. If you submit a coin that you think is an exceptional piece and it comes back in a details graded slab or inauthentic, your options are limited, and you have the ethical dilemma of trying to decide what to do with that coin within your own feelings of what is right and wrong. So there are costs, there are benefits, there are positives and negatives to slabs. To me, I think the positives really outweigh the negatives. Modern third-party grading companies that fit within a modern coin collecting. I think it's an interesting topic. If you want to take a deeper dive into it, I encourage you to look for that new video that's going to be about the collectability of these pieces, some of them, not all of them. If you have any questions about these third-party graders, if you have any questions about the coins that are contained within these slabs, by all means, leave a comment down below and I'll try to address it if I can. If you have suggestions for other videos that you'd like to see me make, either within the World of Coin Collecting series or as a standalone video, leave a comment down below. I'll see if I've got the inventory and the knowledge that we can create a video for you, hopefully answer that question and share it with other people. And as always, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey as you go deeper into the world of coins and physical precious metals.